morning, my fiber friends. Welcome back to the Calling for Orpheus knitting podcast. My name is Connor, and you can find me at Calling for Orpheus on both Instagram and Ravelry. And happy Halloween! It is the morning of October 31st. It's about 10 a.m. I've already recorded this once, and I was talking way too long. And I was like, I'm not making good time. I want to make better time than that. So I'm restarting. I've still got pretty good light. If you can hear my fan, I apologize. It is really hot and muggy in my room. I live in the hottest room in the house. I have the hottest room in the house, which is really funny because I'm the most hot-natured person in the house, and I like the heat the least out of everyone else in the house. But it's really hot and muggy in here, and hot air rises. So even though it's comfortable when you walk outside, when I open my window, it's warm. So I've got the fan on, I've got the air conditioner on. I'm sorry if you can hear it. But today I have my October wrap up. There's some stuff that you would have seen in my vlog that I posted a couple weeks ago. If you watched that, I do recommend watching it. It was really fun to film. I think it's fun to watch. Got a couple things that were seen in there, a couple things that were not seen in there, and a very minimal number of finished objects, because I've been in a little bit of a knitting slump, to be honest with you. But I'm going to start right away with my finished objects, and the first one is topical. These are my Halloween socks. I don't know why I said that so weird. These are my Halloween socks. I was trying to say this and these at the same time, and it came out really funny, but these are my Halloween socks. This pattern is I'm Batty for Halloween by Charlotte Stone of Stone Knits. She's kind of known for her colorwork sock patterns. This is mine. Oops. They fit perfectly. I knitted the smallest size. I have quite small feet. I wear a men's 7.5-ish, which is quite small. And I knitted the smallest size. It's a 64 stitch sock on 2.25 millimeter needles. I did a shadow wrap heel. I think she tells you to do a German short row heel, but I don't really know how she makes it work with the contrast color. I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm a pattern scammer when it comes to socks. I'm sorry. I just did a shadow wrap heel because it's really easy to do with a CC. Yeah, they fit me great. I love them. They're super cute. I knitted them out of 2 Hobie sock yarns. The purple is Hobie Rainbow Sock Wool. I could not tell you the name of the color. And the black is Hobie Silly Socks Disco in the colorway black. And both of these sock yarns I actually think are discontinued by Hobie. Excuse me. They might still sell the Rainbow Sock Wool. They might. I don't see a lot on their website. What I mostly see for them is various variety of the silly socks in variegated and self-striping colors. So I don't really see solid colors from them at all. I really just see like Halloween stripes and Christmas stripes and whatever. That's really all I see, unfortunately, which I personally don't like in my commercial sock yarn. But if you can find the solids, I love them. I highly recommend them for color work. They're not soft, but they're super hard wearing. I've knitted socks out of this yarn that have gone through many trips in the washing machine, many trips in my boots, many hiking trips. They're great. I highly recommend Hobie Sock Wool. And then the only other finished object I have is also not a garment, also an accessory, and it's something that I cast on, I think, the night before last night. It's like 2 nights ago. And this is the Hellenic hat by Andrew Vogel of the Briar Patch. So this is from Andrew from Briar Patch Fiber Co. Hi, Andrew. I don't think he watches these, but hi. He's a local-ish. But yeah, I've got the brim folded way up. And I saw the pattern, and I was like, I have to make it. I'm obligated. I'm obligated to make it. It's first of all, it's Andrew, who is like we're like acquaintances. He's a local. I'm gonna support, local yarny folks, and it's color work and it's inspired by ancient Greece. Obviously, I was going to make it. Here's how it looks on. I did go down a needle size for both the ribbing and the body, mostly because I'm a tight knitter. I don't have a particularly small head. I don't think I have a particularly big head either. I think it's mostly because I'm a really tight knitter. So the pattern for there's a DK and a fingering version, and I did the DK. And it suggests that you use 3.5 millimeters for the ribbing and 4.5 for the color work. I did 3 millimeters and 4 millimeters. And the yarn that I used it's all stash yarn, because that's typically what I do for a test knit, especially for accessories. I'll just use stash. The base yarn here is a combination, or the main color is a combination of a black acrylic cotton blend sport weight yarn that I had in my stash and some knitting for Olive soft silk mohair in the color. It's the color slate gray, which they no longer carry, but I think that they've just renamed it to Thundercloud. That's what that is. So it's this. Oh, it's so wonderful. I just love it. I don't knit in nearly enough black. Black is my favorite neutral. I need to knit in more black. And then the white is just two strands of a merino sock yarn that I always keep in my stash. It's from You Knit I Dye on Etsy. It's their merino nylon basic light fingering sock base in the colorway Au Naturel, but on Etsy it's just called Off-White Tournament. So that's what that is. I literally did it in 2 nights. I love it. It's super comfortable. It's very soft. And this knitting for Olive mohair is going to come into the conversation a little bit later. So now we've got whips. I told you, like, no finished objects. I've been in a knitting slump. Let's talk first. Wait. Oh, I put one of my whips away. Let me go get it again. Okay, I'll start with the forgotten whip. This is my Farnham sweater by the Knit Pearl Girl, which I cast on in that last vlog. Here it is. I'm knitting it out of the leftover yarn that I had from my Elliot, because I'm planning on actually unraveling the Elliot. I know that it's a very recent make, and it's like, oh, you just made it. You should unravel it. It's so pretty. I don't wear it. I just made it. It's fresh. I should be gravitating towards it all the time. It's the perfect weather for it. I just don't wear it. I've worn it once since I've made it, and while I was wearing it, I was like, oh, this doesn't fit me very well. Mainly because I didn't do any short rows. I modified the shoulder shaping a little bit, and I neglected to add short rows because I thought that the V-neck would be enough. I was like, oh yeah, it has a higher back neck anyway. It's fine. It wasn't fine. It doesn't fit me very well. And I think it's also not my style, honestly. I think that like preppy country club look, it's just not me. And so I don't wear it. And I was like, I love the yarn. This is my favorite yarn combo on the planet. And it's my, I think this might be my favorite knitting for Olive color as well. It's all kinds of favorites wrapped into one. I'm not going to let that yarn languish. I'm going to unravel it. I haven't actually unraveled it yet. I'm just using the leftovers right now. But I'm going to unravel it. Because that yarn might as well get used in something that I'm going to wear. So this is the Farnham sweater. It is a quite low priority knit for me, mostly because of the stitch count. So this gauge, even though you would think that it's DK because it's fingering and mohair held together, but it's really more like a sport weight because Sophie, I believe is her name, the woman behind the Knit Pearl Girl, I believe her gauge is a bit tight with it. So despite the fact that she's using merino and mohair on 4mm needles, which sounds like a DK, the gauge is actually quite tight, and it's more like a sport weight gauge. So I'm knitting it on 3.5mm needles, and the stitch count for this sweater is the same stitch count that I would use on a fingering weight sweater for my size. So it's very low priority. That's typically how I go about knitting a fingering weight sweater. Is I usually am very laissez-faire about it. Whatever will be, will be. Pick it up when you want to pick it up. No stress, because I know it's going to take a long time anyway. You know, I know it's gonna take time. It's gonna take a lot of effort. I might as well just work on it kind of passively and slowly and not stress myself out, because it's a slow make anyway. So that's a slow make. It's very low priority for me. I can't wait to have it done because I'm gonna wear the absolute shit out of that sweater, but I know it's gonna take a long time, so it's just gonna hang out. The higher priority makes I have are, for one, this is the halibut sweater, which was a main focus in that last video. See, now I'm too cold. I blasted the air conditioning and I'm blasting the fan, and now I'm too cold. Where's the front? Here's the front. Here it is. This is Halibut by Caitlin Hunter. You probably can't hear me because I'm so far away, but here it is. In the last video that I posted, the goal was just to finish the yoke, which obviously I did do, and I have since started the body and the sleeves, though I have to unravel this sleeve because it's just too tight, and I know the sleeves are going to grow when I block them, but I don't trust that they're going to grow enough for this to be comfortable. So, yeah, I'm starting the second sleeve with a higher stitch count. Oh no! Oh no! Okay, it's not the end of the world. I just, dropped some stitches because for some reason I don't have stitch stoppers on these needles, which is funny because the stitch stopper is right here, and for some reason they're not on the needles because I am the smartest man alive. Okay, there we go. Anyway, yeah, here it is. This is a very high priority knit for me to finish because it's not fun. It's just not fun. And the main reason for that, it's not the pattern. I think the pattern is lovely. It's the yarn. I'm going to give you a straight up warning. Don't use this yarn. This sucks. I hate this yarn. Like, I don't like being negative. I know that my last vlog was not my last vlog. My last podcast was fairly negative. Um, but what I value is honesty. And I don't want to steer any of you wrong because I get steered wrong by podcasts all the time. People are like, "Oh, this is great," or they don't say that there's problems with it. They say nothing about it, and I buy it. It's like, "Oh, this is horrible." So I'm gonna be honest with you. This yarn is Sandnesgarn Smart. It is the only Sandnesgarn yarn that I could afford at the time that I bought this, and I should have bought anything else. It is a non-breed specific superwash wool. It is not soft. It is ridiculously bouncy. It's like knitting with chewing gum. Um, the colors are great. I'll give it that. It's got great colors, and I believe it is machine washable and dryable. I think so. Like that's a positive, but it's just not at all fun to knit with. Not even remotely. I cannot recommend this in good faith to literally anyone. Like there, even for like superwash non-breed specific wool, like there are still better options out there. I would not recommend this, and I can't see myself buying Sandnesgarn yarn again because it's so expensive in the United States, and I can get knitting, and I know that I'm kind of a shill for Knitting for Olive. I swear they don't pay me. I swear they don't make me say this. I just love them. I just love their yarn. But Knitting for Olive, it's ethically sourced. Okay, it's environmentally friendly. Not they treat their laborers ethically. They treat their animals ethically. It's all beautifully dyed. It's beautiful colors. It's all non-superwash. It doesn't grow like crazy, and it's affordable for me. I should say that it's affordable for me. It's cheaper than this, despite the fact that I think it's much higher quality yarn. Don't get me started. Don't get me started, I say, after getting myself started. Yeah, I can't see myself ever buying from Sandnesgarn again unless I'm like in Norway and it's there in front of me and at an affordable price. But yeah, cannot stand the yarn. I'm sorry. I would love to be nice and happy about everything I make all the time, about all of the yarn that I use all the time, but that would be fake and a lie. And I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, I would much rather be negative than be a liar, and this is giving me a very negative experience. But I love the result. Like, look at it. Isn't it so beautiful? It's so beautiful, and the colors are great on me. And that's why I didn't just destash the yarn, is because the colors are so great. That's the one thing that I can say is good about this yarn, is it comes in a really nice selection of colors. So, this is a very high priority because there's not actually a lot of knitting to do left. And I just want to get it done so that I can have the item and enjoy it and wear it. Because it does wash nicely. That's the thing. It's not very soft to knit, but it washes pretty nicely. The other, relatively high, but I'm trying not to be too deranged about it, project is Splatter. So, here it is. Oh, that's the back. Here it is. It doesn't show up very well on camera, unfortunately. Like, it's beautiful and bright and so vibrant and punchy in person, and it just doesn't come off. It just looks very grayed out on camera, unfortunately. It's so soft. I love this sweater. I love it. Okay, I'm gonna put it on real quick. Okay. So here it is. Oh, it's so comfortable. So here is my updated splatter. Obviously, it's not done. I think even if I just made it short sleeve, it would be really nice. But I love it. It's got a really slouchy fit. I am crocheting this in a larger size than I normally would. I'm making a size 5, which for my patterns is roughly equivalent to a men's large. Normally, I would probably make a 4. I think in all of the other patterns that I have written or started writing, I would wear a size 4, which is like a medium. But yeah, I wanted to go bigger, for a comfy, slouchy fit. It's so nice. This is one of those sweaters. It's gonna be so good if you live in like a warm climate because it's crochet, so there's gaps between all of the stitches. There's little, you can't see them, you can't see through it, but there's little gaps in all of the stitches, so air gets through, and it's also a lightweight yarn. It's amazing, I love it, and this is like what I wanted my first go of the splatter to be, and it disappointed me, but this one is working out so well. So yeah, I'm not gonna talk too long about it, but all you have to know for now is I've got to do the sleeves. I've started one, I've got to finish it, do the next sleeve, do the pockets, and finish grading the pattern. I've written the pattern in its entirety, but I've yet to grade the front neckline shaping, the back neckline shaping, and the sleeves. That's all. And I don't want to do it, but I think I'm going to give myself that assignment today, that while we usually, every year we go to my grandma's for Halloween and we just hang out, watch Charlie Brown, hand out candy, because she lives in a bigger neighborhood. And I'm probably gonna like sit at her dining room table and just do nothing. But yeah, I love it. I love it. I'm so proud of it, and I'm so happy and excited for it to be released as my first full knitting pattern. I love it. I love the neckline as well. It's quite wide compared to what I would normally do, but it's very comfortable because I'm a little like about really high collar. I think they look nice, but they're kind of uncomfortable. And this has a wider collar, which I love. I love this. Like, it feels like I'm not wearing anything. It's so comfy. Oh, it's so good. And if you're curious about the yarn I'm using, it's hedgehog fiber sock in the colorway Celestial, and this is knitting for olive merino in the colorway Dusty Dove Blue. It's a very it's gray. I would call it gray. It's a very cool gray, but I love this sweater. I'm gonna take it off, but I love it. That's the last whip. Okay, that's the last whip, which means now I'm gonna talk about my future plans. So, okay, for one, obviously it's a high priority for me to finish some of the stuff that I have currently on the needles. This knot is unbearable. Oh my god, look at this knot that I just made. Why do I do this to myself? Obviously it was an accident, but still. Um, okay, so I do want to finish Splatter sooner rather than later. I am feeling motivated to work on it. It's really fun, and obviously I have that motive of, writing the pattern, wanting to finish the pattern. It's something to be proud of. This knot is not possible for me to untangle. It might be. Never mind. No, never mind. This yarn is not grippy either. There we go. But it's easy to break, which for me is a plus. I know for some people that's a negative. For me, it's a plus. Anyway, what was I talking about? The Farnham sweater, super low priority. I'm not expecting to finish it anytime soon. I'm not going to make myself finish it anytime soon. It is going to hang out on my needles as long as it wants to. Doesn't matter to me. Well, it does matter to me, but it doesn't matter to me how long it takes to finish it. Splatter, I'm very excited about finishing, and I expect to finish relatively soon, but I'm also not, I don't want to put all of the pressure on myself to finish it quickly, because writing a pattern and making the coinciding project, it's a whole different ordeal, right? Like, that's a whole other ballpark than just knitting a sweater, So while it is actually very close to getting done, I want to be kind of relaxed about that. The one thing that is currently active that I really, 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 really want to finish quickly is halibut. Just because it's not an enjoyable process for me, and I'm really a process kind of maker, and I kind of just want to get it done and gone. Well, not gone. Like, I like the sweater. I'm gonna enjoy the sweater when it's finished, but I would like to get it off of the whip pile ASAP. And what that's going to look like is finishing both sleeves, because I have one sleeve on, but it's just too tight. I follow the pattern exactly, and I anticipate that it'll grow in blocking, but it's way too tight. It's really uncomfortable. Pardon me. It's quite miserable to even try on right now, because I have big old arms, It's just not comfortable. I am going to re-knit it, and I'm knitting the second one currently at a larger stitch count. And then when I finish both of the sleeves, then I'm going to move on to the body. I've already knit some of the body. I've knit, I think, about 3, maybe 4 inches of the body. The plan is to do 6 inches in stockinette, 2 inches of ribbing, and then without binding it off, put it on a stitch holder, block it, let it dry fully, and then measure it, and assess the length from there. Because I don't really care about the sleeve like that much. Nah, it's fine. I'll be happy with whatever it ends up as. The sleeve width is more important to me, but the length is like, it doesn't matter. But the sweater length is important to me. So that way, because I'm not going to bind it off. I'm going to leave the ball of yarn attached, and just put it in the tub. Obviously, I'm going to keep the ball of yarn is going to be out of the tub. The sweater's going in the tub. The ball of yarn is staying out, but it's going to stay connected. And that way, it can stretch out and show me where it is without being bound off, so that if I don't like the length, if I need to add or remove length, I don't have to worry about unpicking a bind off, which is such a not fun, not enjoyable experience. So if it's the right length, I can just bind off immediately. If it's too short, I can knit a little more and then bind off. If it's too long, I can either pick back a little bit of the ribbing and then bind off, or I can pick back all of the ribbing and then some of the stockinette and just re-knit that to a length I like better, and then bind it off, and it's gonna be fine. So that's my plan for this. It's a very small stitch count, actually. It's a quite large, like, plump gauge. I think it's like 198 stitches, like less than 200 stitches for the body on this sweater. Um, and I don't have to knit it to a super long length because of the gauge swatch I knit. It told me it's going to grow by like 10, 11%, which is going to be multiple inches by the time the sweater is done. So I shouldn't have to knit very much to have it finished. And I think that this is going to be one of my higher priority knits right now. The other thing that I am considering casting on and having be a high priority, like let's knock it out knit, is the Stitches sweater by Kutavakika, which I haven't even cast on yet, but I have the yarn for it. I own the pattern already. Let me show you. This is the yarn I'm gonna, oops, you can't see all of it. This is the yarn I'm gonna use. These are my 3 contrast colors. This is gonna be the main color. This is Plymouth Yarns Homestead, and this is Blue Sky Fibers Woolstuck Worsted is what this is. And it should take me very little time to finish that sweater because I've knitted a sweater from Kutavakika in that exact yarn already this summer, and I wasn't able to share it anywhere because it was part of her book. It was a secret test for her book, which is released now. Well, it's not fully released, but the pre-order's out now, and she gave us permission to share. So this is the sweater that I've already knitted, and this is actually my most worn sweater so far this fall. I want to say it's called the Late Night Sweater, I think. I don't really remember because I knitted it many months ago. But it was knit in the exact same combination of yarns, different colors, but the same combination, and I did this in 7 days. In my last podcast, I said that my Nebula was my fastest completed knit without losing sleep. It's actually that one. 7 days. It's crazy. So even though I'm going to be knitting this at a larger size, because this I knitted the size extra small, which is I think 1 or 2 sizes smaller than Kika suggests for my chest measurement. Because I wanted more like 4 to 6 inches of ease rather than like 10 to 12 inches, which is I think what was suggested. For this, I would want that 10 to 12 ease for the Stitches sweater. So I am going to be knitting a bigger size, but it still shouldn't take a super long time. And it's going to be much more enjoyable because I love those yarns. Plymouth Homestead is among my favorite yarns ever. It is rustic, but it's not itchy, and it washes beautifully. It's so soft once you wash it. It's so nice. I love Plymouth Homestead. and it's affordable. It's great. So yeah, right now on my plate, it's I need to finish grading the splatter pattern because I know I'm going to put it off as much as I possibly can because I don't like the grading process very much. But it's just math. It's just math. And I already know what I did for my size, so I just have to plug it in and figure out the right percentages for the other sizes. It's not a big deal. I just don't want to do it, but I'm going to do that. And once that's done and graded, I think I'm going to be super motivated to finish that sweater. And then also high priority is finishing halibut. Once those things are finished, I may already have the Stitches sweater cast on, or I might opt to cast those on once these 2 are finished. And then I actually have some planned acquisitions that I want to purchase once some of these things are done and some of that yarn is out of stash, quote unquote. What kind of time are we making? Oh, we're making good time. It's less than 30 minutes. So I'm going to try and still keep this a little bit brief because I feel like I'm talking a lot. But I do have some planned acquisitions. And again, I don't want to bring in a ton of yarn right now, at least before I get some things kind of finished and out of my stash. But I'm planning on making a pretty big, fat, chunky knitting for Olive order sometime in the near future. And the first thing that I want to get, like my highest priority thing to get from them, is actually something that might surprise you, and that's a quantity of 2 yarns, including their mohair, that I want to hold together to knit myself a Christmas sweater, which is all very, like, unlike me normally. I'm not normally a knit for the holidays kind of person, aside from, like, socks. I'll knit some festive socks, but, like, I'm not normally a, like, let's knit a Christmas sweater or a Thanksgiving sweater kind of a person. Not me. But knitting for Olive carries this color. The color is called, oh god, what is that fruit? Red currant. We don't eat them in America, so I forget the name of it. I always want to call it carnation. Red currant. And it's a cool red, which is what works for me. And it's so bright and juicy. I'm gonna try and put a picture up. It's so good. It's so bright and just fun. And it's a cool tone. I can't. Warm reds don't look good. Like orangey red doesn't look good on me, but cool red looks amazing on me. I love a cool red, and it's a cool, like you can look at it, and you can see like there's like a blue undertone. It's such a perfect red. Like I'm getting, I love color, and I'm getting so excited just thinking about it. And I want to pair it with a mohair in the color pomegranate, which is a similar. It's a cool toned, really juicy saturated red, but it's a darker color. And I think that's going to give me the perfect tonality. It's going to be amazing. And normally I would be kind of averse to knitting a sweater in mohair, but I have actually knit a sweater in Knitting for Olive's mohair before, and I love that sweater. It's the Fortune sweater by Petite Knit. I don't wear it a lot because of what the sweater is. It's two strands of mohair held together, so it's very hot. It's really hot. Like mohair is way more insulating than any other wool I've ever used. It's hot. It's two strands together, so even though it's like a gauzy, open gauge, it's hot. It is not breathable. And it's also like all over lace, and it's got these short sleeves, and it's just like not the kind of thing that I can easily style and wear all the time, but I do love it. I'll pop a picture up if I can find one. It's on my Instagram, but I don't find it, while that sweater is really hot, I don't find it itchy. And I also have this, which was knit. I think I might have mentioned it's a acrylic cotton blend held with their mohair, and it is ridiculously silky soft. And last night, as I was knitting it, I was like, God, this is so soft. And I was putting it on my neck and whatnot, which is where I'm sensitive to see if it's itchy. It's not at all. Like I'm experiencing even like this. I'm pressing it against my neck, rubbing it, no itch. It feels completely fine. Absolutely no itch factor on my arms, which are also sensitive. No itch factor. It's so soft. And the only other sweater, aside from the Fortune sweater, that I've knit in a mohair was knit in a very prickly, not a fuzzy mohair, a prickly, hairy mohair, and I hated it. And I kind of swore off mohair. But Knitting for Olive mohair isn't prickly and hairy like that. It's fuzzy. So I want to give it a try in that sweater. I'm so excited just thinking about it. I haven't decided on a pattern yet. Part of me kind of wants to do a simple cable sweater, something like sweater number 29 by My Favorite Things, but then I'm thinking, cables and that bright fuzzy red, it might be a bit too Christmassy, and I might not want to wear it the rest of the year. I'm generally not a huge cables person, though I like that design. I think I might like it better in neutral to make it a little bit more stylable, wearable for me in my regular day-to-day life. I don't want something that's just plain stockinette. I would like a pearl texture. I'm thinking about the Storm sweater by Petite Knit. It's one of her like Gansey style sweaters. I don't want it in Ingrid, but I'm considering maybe the Storm sweater or maybe another designer's kind of Gansey style sweater. I know there's other ones out there. I want something with some visual interest, some texture, but not necessarily just cables. I don't know. I want to buy that yarn though. And the other yarn that I'm pretty certain about getting is a quantity of their heavy merino, which, sorry, my nose is stuffy for some reason all of a sudden. But the main color I want to pick is ochre, and the contrast I want to pick is marzipan for the field sweater by Camilla Vaught, because my friends and I in my knitting group are planning on doing a casual knit along of that sweater because we all want to make it. And I think those two colors would be perfect. And then finally, this is a quantity that I'm actually probably not going to buy this time around, but I'm going to keep in my mind to consider next time, is a quantity similar to this where I go with a black base color and a dark gray mohair, and I want to knit a cable sweater. And I actually think that this is what I'm going to do for sweater number 29. I think I'm going to get some heavy merino in the color licorice and some merino in the color thundercloud, because 29 is actually DK plus mohair, not fingering plus mohair. And I think it would make the most beautiful, like really subtle cables, but it would be very wearable for me, really subdued. It's so perfect in my head. I want it so bad. And I'm probably not going to bring it into my stash right now, just because I think that's going to be 3 quantities. It's just going to be too much. But it is in my brain and getting me inspired. And the other thing that I actually kind of forgot to mention is there is actually one other thing that I would like to knit and get out of my stash is a baby blanket. Let me get the yarn. So I have a bunch of this. It's Fiber Natura Donna or Donna. It's a commercial superwash merino, and this is the stuff that stretches like crazy. And I bought it more than a year ago now, when I had more faith in superwash yarn than I currently do, because I'd only used indie superwash, which in my experience, indie superwash yarn does not grow like crazy. It really doesn't. But commercial superwash yarn does, and I bought it. I didn't like how it looked knitted up. It's one of those yarns. You'll know what I'm talking. I know at least a subset of you will know what I'm talking about. When you knit stockinette, the stitches look like this. Instead of being like a nice plump V, they look like this. Like there's one leg of the stitch is like straight, and the other leg is like this. Even if you have perfectly even tension, it looks like this, and I hate that look. I was like, I don't like how this looks. I don't want to use it. So I haven't used it, and now I've had recent bad experiences with superwash wool, and I'm like, oh, I really don't want to use this now. And I was initially planning on using this plus mohair from Knitting for Olive to knit the storm sweater. Not the storm sweater, I'm sorry, to knit sweater number 29. Because I was like, oh, maybe the mohair will help to kind of temper the growth. And I was talking to my friend Alicia from a knitting group about it, who is also she's a much more experienced knitter than I am. And I was talking to her about it, and she had some interesting feedback for me. Which was that it probably wouldn't be worth it to use this yarn, because if I use this yarn and I'd go through all of that effort doing a gray and black mohair cabled sweater, and then it grows, that's going to be a nightmare. That's going to be so miserable for me. And it's just not worth it. Like, am I going to save money? Yes. But for a sweater that might get ruined immediately after all of that effort, not worth it. It's not worth it. So, I've decided, because I need to use this yarn, and it's really soft, squishy, plush yarn, and it's machine washable and dryable. And my friend Meredith is expecting a nephew in January. I believe it, yeah, her sister, I think, is expecting a baby in January. And because it's machine washable and dryable, I think that I could hold this yarn double, hold the DK weight yarn double, get like a bulky or super bulky weight, and knit up like a really squishy, chunky, like garter stitch blanket in like 2 weeks. And who cares if it grows? You know, I can knit it to like regular like baby blanket size, and if it grows to throw size, who cares? Who cares? It's a blanket, you know. And it's gray. It's a dark gray, which is it's a nice warm dark gray, which is going to make it a great neutral. It's gonna fit in any room in any house. It's a blanket, and I think it's actually gonna be really fun to just knit a big garter stitch rectangle. So yeah, or I might do instead of really doing garter stitch, I might do something kind of like what is that sweater that I like from Andrew Lowry? The Traveler, where you get like stockinette, reverse stockinette, stockinette, reverse stockinette for several rows instead of just one row alternating, you know, to get like some ridges. I think that would be fun. So that's something that I'm also actually planning on getting out sooner rather than later, so that I can pull some yarn out of my stash in order to bring that new yarn in. But yeah, out of everything, I'm most excited for that red sweater. I just can't wait, and I need to get some of these sweaters done and dusted and off the needles. Wish me luck. I'm probably going to do some vlogs later this month to show you the progress of that, because I had so much fun with the last one. But yeah, that's everything, technically. I do have some Christmas presents that I've been working on that I cannot share, because at least one person I'm knitting for, I do think watches these videos, at least some of them, and I don't want to risk her seeing it spoiling the surprise. So I didn't talk about that, but everything I can show you, I have shown you. So I hope you had fun today. I had fun with you. I will keep you posted. I'll keep you updated on my future makes and on how these things are going. I'm going to probably make a whole big announcement video when the splatter sweater is done and ready to be tested. Like a little whole video just about that sweater. I'm going to talk about the process of making it, the skills it requires, what the test window is going to look like, what the test process is going to look like, all of that in its own video when it comes time for that. But yeah, thank you so much for spending this time with me today. I hope you had fun. I certainly did. And if you liked this video, drop down below, like, subscribe, leave me a nice comment. That's my favorite part of making these videos, is hearing from you. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye.